Happy St. Patrick's Day edition. Today I want to talk about obviously Tesla. And in Ireland right now, I want to give you some numbers of what's going on. Up until this year, 2025, Tesla was the highest volume selling EV in Ireland. And per capita, actually, it was one of the highest numbers in Europe. Now, Ireland has a population of 5, 6, 7 million, something like that. The numbers. Actually, let's ask Grok. Oh, Grok's not working. All right, never mind. But anyway, somewhere around there. But so ID4, or let's just call it Volkswagen, because there's ID3, ID4. They are the highest selling EV in Ireland right now. They're at 14% of the market share. Ireland is at, Tesla is at 12%. Now, there are many reasons that's happening. First of all, Volkswagen are offering enormous incentives to buy their EVs. They are, of course, cheaper than Teslas, but we all know Volkswagen's in trouble. Volkswagen is rapidly heading towards bankruptcy. Now, the other reason for the percentage point drop in Tesla popularity in Ireland is, of course, politics. And, Elon even said it himself. Probably the worst thing I ever did was get into politics because it's a blood sport. But I believe that is going to change over time. People have a very short memory. If you just look at how elections work, you realize people have very, very short memories. They focus on the moment. And by the way, politicians know this. They really do. But listen, there is, a lot of people will try to convince you that Tesla is in trouble in Europe, but it's really not. That percentage drop in Ireland is it's a, no pun intended, or I guess maybe pun intended. It is without question definitely a drop in the bucket. So those sales volume numbers will come back. And of course, the other thing that's going to drive sales now in Europe and frankly all over the world is we have a war going on in Iran. The United States have a war going on in Iran, and whether it ends in 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks or 2 months, 3 months, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it ends faster than that. Oil today is coming in at I think this morning's it's March 17th, 2025. I think 2026. The numbers are coming in at $102 a barrel. And it's been fluctuating around there. It dropped the other day because they released some oil reserves and some other governments released some oil reserves. But look, could it get to $120 a barrel? Of course it could. Of course it could. Is that going to have an economic impact? Of course it is. But having said that, when the war ends, and the war will end, they're saying in a few weeks, who knows? But let's hypothetically say that the war ends in a few weeks, you could see oil go all the way back down to $60 a barrel. Some are even speculating it might go down to $50 a barrel. But Tesla car sales are going to increase eventually over time. And let's be honest, even myself, we must never ever forget that Elon has said this many times. Tesla is not a car company. It's a energy, robotics, AI company. And of course they have the Boring and they have the SpaceX and all that stuff as well, right? The Boring company, which is the tunnel building division of Tesla. But anyway, as far as Ireland goes, I just wanted to hit on some of those subjects today. Now, since I'm Irish and I am now an active part of the Tesla community, I need to tell you a couple of things. First of all, corned beef is not Irish. even though I'm in the bar business and it is our busiest, absolute busiest day of the year by far. Everybody in America wants corned beef and cabbage, but it's not historically an Irish dish. And actually, when I get done talking here, I'm going to tag a video that I had built on InVideo.ai that basically describes very easily, very simply, basically describes the history of corned beef. The other thing I want to say about Ireland is there are no leprechauns. Elon Musk is not a leprechaun. A lot of people are trying to say today that he is, but I did find a leprechaun today drinking a pint of Guinness, and I think he could be O Optimus. I think his name is O Optimus, and he loves his pint of Guinness. So we have to dig deeper and find out where he came from, possibly California. I can guarantee he didn't arrive with his pot of gold in a Model S or a Model X, because they frankly won't allow him in the car. They don't like him anymore because he basically threw them out of the house. So they're not happy with him at all. But anyway, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day, fill you in on what's going on in Ireland with Tesla. And it's very, very, very important that currently, as investors, Tesla stock seems flat. Now, we've been through this before. Not alone have we been through flat, we've been through times when it dropped from 375 or 400 all the way down to $100 a share. So as long-term Tesla investors, we're prepared for that. We're not worried about it. We know that there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. There's a lot of stuff that's about to change very, very soon. I don't believe Tesla loses no matter what happens in this war. So in other words, what I'm saying is if oil goes to $150 a barrel, more people are going to want EVs. They're also going to want to change the way they look at the world. And the amount of, just the build out alone for an EV charging site as opposed to a to a gas station, is just enormous amounts of money. So oil costs money, but it costs more money than electric simply because of the build out. Now just imagine you put in 48 V4 chargers and you put in the generators that run them and you add a little solar. Compare that to putting in 20 gas pumps or even 10 gas pumps. The amount of tanks you have to put in the ground, the amount of ventilation that's required, the amount of power, electric, that's required to run all that stuff, and the environmental impact and the environmental hoops and regulations that you have to run through just to get the project done. Down the road, it's obviously currently and down the road, it's going to be much easier to build out EV charging infrastructure. And if you look at California and other places, and it's going to begin, I'm trying to think, I think maybe it's Australia, I think. Anyway, let's talk about California for a second. I got to look up the Australia thing. I actually need to do a video on Australia, but in California, they're building charging infrastructure literally in the middle of the desert, exits off the highway that had nothing there before, and they're putting in 100, 200, 300, 400 charging stations, and they're literally surrounding that entire charging infrastructure with enormous amounts of solar. And I believe they're doing the same thing in Australia, but there's no reason they can't do that in North Carolina. For instance, I did a video the other day where I got off the highway, and it was a big wide open space, but it was a huge gas station, truck stop, store, and they had 48, that's why I came up with the number 48. This 48 V4 chargers were absolutely fantastic. This was a fantastic setup. And the other thing I noticed was there was an enormous amount of land around there. And I don't know if that's the future plan for this particular charging station, charging infrastructure, but I could definitely envision a huge solar farm very closely attached to that charging infrastructure. So there's no doubt that going forward. And the other thing I did in a video the other day, and I need to hit on it again, is, you know, back in the 70s when we had the oil embargo and we remember people lining up for gas, people back then, that was the transition to the much more energy efficient mileage cars. That's when the Japanese cars came in. That's when the Toyotas came in. People wanted to get away from the gas guzzlers. And I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people who are paying $4 a gallon for gas. California, of course, it's a lot more than that. So I guarantee you there is a paradigm shift coming where people are thinking, you know what, I'll just go with the EV. And I know in the comments you're going to say, look, you need fuel, you need oil to run the generators. I get that. But the infrastructure is where the money goes. You know, you need to understand, you go to a gas station and you put the pump in your car, it comes out of the ground, but it's not coming from the inner earth. It's coming from a tank in the ground, and that tank has to be filled up every week, usually. And that's why you pull into a gas station at midnight or 2 a.m., sometimes 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you see a big giant semi-truck with a tanker on it. It's delivering that gas. But anyway, listen, happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share the video. And there are discount links in the description. And the first comment in my videos always is a discount link for all Tesla products. That includes purchasing a vehicle, you actually get free FSD, discounts on solar, discounts on Starlink, you name it. Anything Tesla makes, there is a link for a discount to all their company products. Have a great day.
Corned beef and cabbage is widely regarded as a quintessential Irish-American dish, particularly associated with St. Patrick's Day celebrations in the United States. But it has little to no roots in traditional Irish cuisine back in Ireland. Instead, its history reflects a blend of economic necessity, immigration patterns, and cultural adaptation among Irish immigrants in 19th century America. In the 17th and 18th centuries, Ireland became a major producer and exporter of corned beef cured with large grains of salt, or corns, for preservation. Cities like Cork and Dublin shipped salted beef to Britain, France, and the American colonies. But this was largely an export industry driven by British landowners. The average Irish person couldn't afford beef. Their diet relied more on potatoes, dairy, and affordable pork or bacon, often paired with cabbage in dishes like Irish bacon and cabbage. Beef was a luxury reserved for the wealthy or for export. The Great Famine, 1845 to 1852, devastated Ireland, leading to mass emigration, with over 1 million Irish people fleeing to the U.S. Many settled in urban areas like New York City, where they lived in working-class neighborhoods alongside other immigrant groups, including Eastern European Jews. In America, salted beef brisket was abundant and inexpensive, cheaper than pork, thanks to the U.S. cattle industry and Jewish kosher butchers who produced corned beef as part of their deli traditions. Irish immigrants adopted it as a substitute for their traditional bacon, pairing it with affordable cabbage to create a hearty, nutrient-dense meal that evoked home but fit their new circumstances. This shift was driven by economics. Beef, once unattainable in Ireland, became a symbol of modest prosperity in the U.S. The dish gained popularity among the Irish-American working class in the late 19th century, but it wasn't immediately tied to St. Patrick's Day. Early Irish-American celebrations focused more on music, parades, and community rather than specific foods. By the early 20th century, corned beef and cabbage had become emblematic of Irish-American identity. Influences included cultural exchange. Proximity to Jewish communities played a key role, with some historians noting that Irish immigrants borrowed corned beef from Jewish neighbors and delis. Media and pop culture. The comic strip Bringing Up Father, 1913-2000, about an Irish immigrant who strikes it rich but craves simple corned beef and cabbage, helped cement the association in American minds. By the 1920s, it appeared in Irish-American cookbooks and holiday menus. Today, while rarely eaten in Ireland, where lamb, seafood, or bacon might feature more prominently, corned beef remains a beloved St. Patrick's Day staple in the U.S., symbolizing the resilience and adaptation of Irish immigrants. It's a prime example of how immigrant cuisines evolve in new lands.
Guinness is good for you. This is Guinness Zero.